Welcome to another Carbon Cardboard Show with your host Brian and Scott from the P1Castle.
Let's go.
Intro. I just kind of thought of that on the fly.
We got a lot going on.
We have a lot going on. I actually did mean to try that on purpose. It wasn't just some completely on mental overload. Got a vacation coming up. The family and I are going to Disneyland next week in California. So
Very
going
nice.
from Boston all the way over to LA this week. So been to Disney World multiple times and going with some close friends of ours for about a week or so. Really looking forward to that.
Yeah. Well, as you fly over Vegas, make sure to wave hello down at me because I'll be in Vegas while you're in Disneyland. So
That is true.
both playgrounds of sorts.
Yes. One more so than the other of the adult persuasion. A little bit more of an adult playground, although Disney adults. I know Caitlin, the Formula Queen, has been enjoying her trip. If you follow her on social media, birthday trip. So shout out to one of the P1Castle affiliates.
Absolutely.
Wow, Scott, what a race! This past weekend.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was an exciting weekend in general, right? I mean, I think we've had two back-to-back just like solid weekends, like obviously in qualifying, very exciting. We saw the person that had looked to be the favorite going into Q3 had been the fastest of everybody, Lando Norris, put it in the wall. And Max Verstappen with his second pole position of the year. You would not have thought that he would have two poles after 5 races. So yeah, pretty exciting qualifying, and then race was not too shabby either.
So we'll get into the race as we talk about our grid gainer picks. That'll be the topic of this particular episode. We are going to try to get in as many as we can for your listening and viewing enjoyment during this time period where Scott and I will be traversing. I'll be traversing the country. Scott will be traversing the world.
That's true. We do have a lot of trips coming up, but we're gonna do what we can to keep the F1 card content going.
So we will talk about the race as we get through our grid gainers here, and I'll save some of my my talking points here from we get to the drivers that we're going to talk about that have seen a increase, in our opinion, in their card market or will. Again, not financial advice. So I think you had first pick last time out.
It did.
And I had first pick this time out. There'll be a couple familiar faces here, but looking at some different cards. And
always.
The thing I was thinking about, Scott, as we do this grid gainer thing is we're doing 2 now, and there's only 20 drivers on the grid. So we do want to kind of expand it out when it makes sense. But sometimes like somebody just continues to demonstrate that their market, as a lot of theirs, just potentially has even more. There's more data points. We know more. There's been more card sales. On track results matter. Drum roll, please, for the grid gainers. No surprise. Oscar Piastri, to the surprise of nobody. I will, at the end of the episode, talk about just this. I have to literally be like one of the luckiest people on the planet right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We, friend of the show, Ferg with Rated Rips, he's pretty good at making picks and calculating odds and stuff. We've got to get Ferg to calculate the odds of what I've been able to pull for CADs recently, just because like the numbers just don't even make sense. It just seems completely illogical, especially in the number of days that transpired between these two events happening.
Yeah.
Oscar Piastri, world, just completely on fire at this point, unflappable. Gave Max a little bit of his own medicine at turn 1.
He Verstappen.
Verstappen, and, we talk about the other side of this, this turn as the episode progresses, but the thing the thing just for the on-track results, Scott, and I've gotta ask you because clearly the McLaren seems to be the better car
Yeah.
in 2025. However, in these highly technical, you know, low margin, we saw people hitting the walls. Uh, a couple drivers went out on lap 1. Max
Best of friends.
Max seems to excel in these environments like he did in Japan, Suzuka, and in here at Jeddah, that even though he doesn't have the best car, he seems to be able to take, I don't know, just send it around like the non-traditional racing line and just find time. I
Yeah.
It would have been really interesting, Scott, to see if there was not a 5-second penalty. Would Oscar have been able to stay with and catch Max on a racing course that is and can be very difficult to pass on when you're in kind of similar machinery?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we'll get into Max a little bit more in a few moments, but Oscar just had an amazing start, really, and that's what it came down to. At the end of the day, Max started in pole, Oscar in second. Oscar had a phenomenal start up the inside, and took the corner despite Christian Horner with his printouts. I think it was Oscar's corner, and from there, listen, I think 5 seconds warranted. Shout out to the Race Podcast again. If you're looking for information just specifically on F1, cannot recommend the Race F1 podcast enough. But they talked about it on there too, and I completely agree. I think 10 seconds would have been too much for lap 1, turn 1. There's no way they're giving 10 seconds, but I also think they had to do something, because did Max get his car the slightest bit ahead? Kind of, but in doing so, he had to carry enough speed in there that there was no way he could stop and turn the car. And he even kept going, kept his foot in, and eked out like over a second advantage, which he obviously didn't have going into the corner. So yeah, there was no way that anything other than a 5 second penalty was going to be coming his way. It would have been interesting to see how things played out if Max had stayed ahead and then Oscar had to chase him down, like you said, and make a pass on track. I think eventually he might have been able to get it done into turn 1 at some point. That's the most popular overtaking spot. But yeah, like you said, on these twisty circuits, it's tough to pass, and clean air matters. But Oscar, amazing start. He got the job done at turn 1, and that's really all he had to do. It looked like he was sticking right with Max for a little bit, but then, I think cooler heads prevailed. We didn't get to hear all the radio messages, but I'm sure his team was like, listen, he's got a 5 second penalty. Ease off a little bit. You don't need to be eating up your tires. He sat back kind of 2.5 seconds back, waited for the pit stops to come. He was up ahead by, 3 seconds, and then there was no context. Oscar was just phenomenal. Didn't put a foot wrong all weekend.
Now has the official lead in the World Driver Championship lead, 10 points over Lando at the end of this. The first time an Aussie has been in first place since Mark Webber in 2010.
Ooh.
Little interesting stat. Mark Webber actually happens to be the manager of one Oscar Piastri. So I'm sure it's kind of laughable to hear the, with Mark making the jokes about how about that for a number one driver, infamously battled with Vettel, and if anybody knows, is you especially, 2010 was the first year of Vettel's 4-year dominance. So
Dominance. That's right.
so I
Until
don't know.
Lil Seb comes up.
Yes. So I don't know if we're looking at a similar 4-year run here for Mr. Piastri, but again, I don't think there's a hotter in terms of card price driver on the market right now. Oscar prices are just surging. There's so many cards coming out of the woodwork at this point. Rookie cards, 2024 cards. I mean, I'll talk about it later. Topps Finest, first appearance there. It's just, if you have Oscar cards right now and you're not a long-term Oscar believer, now is the perfect time to unload them to people like me, because you can't get enough. You can't get enough of these cards at this point.
Buy the rumors, sell the news, right? And the news is out that he's pretty good.
Yes, he is. And I mean, 10 points is not like the shoe in at this point, but I think the prices are starting to reflect that, we talked about before this race that Vegas had anointed Piastri as kind of the odds-on favorite to finish the year as the world driver champion. And, I think all the things are starting to catch up. This is not a slight on Lando in the least bit, but it's hard to argue, despite the race one issues in Melbourne in his home race. He now has 3 race wins in 2025 to Lando's 1. Like,
Yeah.
and the fact that it's only a 10-point gap right now, like, I mean, he's got to continue this run to really run away from his teammate at this point. And Max is lurking, George is lurking, but I think he'd be silly not to start to kind of bake this into his prices for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I think the hype is there, right? And we've been in the F1 card market and the card market in general for a while, and hype sells. I mean, I think now 2 wins in a row, everyone is coming to that realization of, okay, this guy's the real deal. He might win this championship. And folks are scrambling, pivoting, away from maybe Lando into Oscar, and away from Max into Oscar, and everyone's trying to get into Oscar. And so you're going to see those big price jumps when a lot of people, when there's a huge spike in demand and the supply is pretty much the same, you're going to see a big spike in price, and that's what we've seen. And I mean, we've seen some of these liquid cards go for pretty crazy amounts. I mean, what you got up on here?
So, I mean, we're getting to the point where we're trying to cover different cards every time when we keep talking
Mhm.
about the same drivers. But outside of card number 40, which in the Topps Chrome set and Sapphire 2023, card number 40 was his presumed rookie card. Next in line in popularity is card number 41, which is, kind of infamously Helmet Oscar, where he has his 2023 crash helmet on with his very famous multicolor helmet, which I think is phenomenal. Quick aside, you look up Oscar Piastri mini helmets online, and a lot of people on like Reddit and stuff think his helmet is absolutely hideous, and I just don't see it. I think he has like my favorite helmet on the grid, bar none.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what these people are talking about, but again, probably the second best Oscar rookie card in Topps Chrome. Card number 41. Obviously, when we talk about liquid cards, we want to look for rookie cards. We also want to look for the benchmark, which is a PSA 10. So that card number 41 in base Sapphire has, as you can see on screen here, is a pop 43, relatively low.
Yeah,
This
that's pretty low.
this card is very hard to gem, the base cards. Some of them look like kind of a hacksaw, one around the edge of them.
Yep.
So many of them off center, left to right, top to bottom, give or take. The quality in 2023 was just not the greatest. But
It
if you
wasn't finest
it was not
2024
it
quality.
was not 2024 finest quality, which still isn't, absolutely flawless, but far better than what we're looking at
Yeah.
here. So if I was looking for a liquid card, that's definitely one I want to go to. And prices are, as you can expect, are jumping on this. And you're going to see a lot more of these getting submitted to PSA. And you're also going to see a lot more 8s and 9s pop up as people try to chase those 10s. I think the pop on the PSA 10s it'll grow over the
Yeah.
next course of the next couple of months, but it'll still be relatively lower compared to the 8s and 9s that will start to flood the market.
Well, I tell you what, Brian, I mean, I know when I'm in Vegas, I've got one of the things I've got the queen doing is going through all my 2023 Sapphire bulk. And you can imagine we have a lot. We ripped a lot of 2023 Sapphire. Um, and we're going to be hunting down any of the Oscar portraits, helmets, or freshest. We're going to be pulling all those out. And yeah, maybe sending quite a few of them your way.
The good thing is those are pretty quick to check, especially when you got a base card. You can check centering, surface scratches, corners in the back. Would love to see a lot more 10s out there. Now, when it comes to grails, and the Carbon Cardboard podcast is not so secretly sponsored by the P1Castle. If you're looking for a grail, well, Scott so happens to have a PSA 10 Orange Wave card number 40 portrait available on P1Castle Premium Consignment.
It's a beautiful card. I like the waves personally. I know you. I think you said you're a fan.
I do. I
waves
like
as
them.
well.
I'd rather have the wave than the regular orange if I'm looking at just chrome.
Mhm.
But they're not for everybody.
Right. It's true.
But you cannot, Scott, deny a papaya color match. Like it just works. Actually, little quick aside too, kind of like a secondary color match for McLaren and Oscar Piastri is actually kind of like an aqua. Like that's kind of like a third or fourth color on a lot of their, especially their 2023. As you can see, the number on his belt is
right.
Close-ish.
It's like that light blue, aqua, kind of somewhere in that range.
So if you're looking for a grail on a budget, definitely look at aquas too. So, but anyways, Oscar Piastri. Breaking news: he's kind of good.
Not bad. World Championship leader.
World Championship leader. Let's talk about the 4-time reigning world champion.
That's right. So, Bryan got first pick this week. Went with Oscar. Took the number 1 spot. I went with the number 2 spot, naturally. And I chose Max Verstappen. And actually, one of the reasons I chose Verstappen is not necessarily because of his second place finish, which I think was, a great race, probably as good as he was ever going to do. You never know what happens. Maybe if he holds that first corner, he ends up winning. I still think Oscar likely would have gotten him in the end. But the fact that he was able to put that Red Bull on pole position, over one lap, we've talked about how good Russell is at qualifying. We've talked about how good Leclerc is at qualifying. I feel like Verstappen's qualifying is severely underrated because time and time again, he is just pulling out these insane laps. And if not for these laps in qualifying that he's able to pull out in Suzuka, pull out here, he's not where he is in the championship. And right now he's lurking in third, not that far behind Piastri and Norris. So he's within touching distance. We talked about this last time. If the car comes good, Max will be there and be close enough to be able to fight for this championship. And it's because he's putting in these performances. And, I talked to a few people, and some people, are like, oh, well, Max doing Max things, cutting the corner and then, blah, 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 I don't want his cards. But those people are I asked them, like, how many Max cards do you own? They're like, I don't own any. Well, there you go. Max is polarizing. He always has been. The people that like Max, collect Max, were so excited going into this race. He'd just taken pole. I sold a bunch of different smaller Maxes, nothing huge, but I sold a bunch of different Maxes. I got people messaging me, oh, what Maxes do you have? The folks that like Max and are collecting Max are really excited about his performances this year. And that's why he's one of my grid gainers, is because he's putting in these performances. And, we've had Max on here a couple times before. We've looked at, base Sapphire portrait from 2020. We've looked at things like Chrome, I think if you're going to step out of 2020 and you're going to look for another kind of liquid card, a nice old beautiful card, not going to break the bank, you can actually look to 2023 Sapphire. And the first year that they made Sapphire selections, you can pick up a PSA 10 Max Verstappen Sapphire selections base card for around 200 or just under $200, which I think is a bargain, not financial advice, but I think that's a great deal. It's only a pop 23. Pop 23 for a beautiful card. I mean, this is reminiscent of his portrait. I think the Sapphire selections in 2023 look beautiful. You've got him with this helmet there. It's a gorgeous card. When we talk about grails, yeah, I mean, usually if we've got something huge in P1Castle Premium Consignment, we're gonna throw it up here because we generally deal in the grail cards, and we've got a grail for sure, and that is a Max Verstappen 2020 autograph. This time, we're looking at a PSA 8. PSA 8 Max Verstappen 2020 autograph. Listen, when all is said and done, autographs are going to reign supreme, and it's really hard to look past first year autographs. I mean, we just saw Max Verstappen autographs not in finest. Right now, you can ask, okay, what's going on there? Some people ask me like, why didn't Max sign? And is it that Max didn't sign? Is it that Topps didn't have any stickers left because they had used more in maybe Paddock Pass and some of these other products and didn't leave enough for it? I don't know. But if you look at other sports like soccer, like baseball, like basketball, you're not going to see every single superstar sign in every single product. They don't do that, right? Because they don't want to water down their autographs. They want to spread it out. They'll release one product and they've got, maybe 33% of the superstars signing in that one. And then they release another product and the other 33% and the other 33%. And we may see that start to happen in products coming out, right? And we don't want to see autographs all over the place, right? It devalues them. So I think if we're starting to see less and less autographs come up in general, it's always gonna be a good place to be. And it's like I said, 2020 is the holy grail. If you have a 2020 Max Verstappen autograph, that is always going to be a crown jewel of a Verstappen collector's collection. So for me, I'm going with a 2020 autograph, and they're just beautiful. And I love his stance in this one. Really do.
Ditto. Like I kind of talked about Max a little bit when I was talking about Piastri, but again, just showing the heart of a champion. He kind of sees shades, and obviously wasn't watching Formula One at the time, but you can see like sometimes when like all-time greats aren't necessarily in the best car and in a given season, they're just able to do things that you think are impossible. And you've made the point so many times before too. It's racing. Anything can happen. Just because you have the best car doesn't mean you're going to go out and win every single race. I mean, like 2023 is always going to be the outlier. We may
Yeah.
never see that again. Not only was the Red Bull good, better than their competitors, but Max was just on another level. Even now, we later find out that all the issues that the car was having, that his talent was hiding, because you know what?
Yep.
Toto was right. He had the printout. Checo was saying the car was, the bleep word, because we don't swear on this family friendly
We don't do
podcast.
that.
We don't do that. Yeah, I agree with these picks. Again, first year appearance in Sapphire selections. Again, just you know me. You're the same way. Just
Yeah.
the flow chart for me is collectible driver. Is there a helmet somewhere in the photo? If answer is yes, go ahead and add that to the collection. Add that to the PC. So again, a very very hard card to gem. Those Sapphire selections. The Max cards specifically.
Yeah.
A good chunk of them actually have like an indent in the front of the card. You can't get that out. It does sneak up on a lot of people. You definitely have to hold it under light on a certain way. And then the back edge, like a lot of the times the corners are, usually end up being a PSA 9. So again, I think that Pop 23 is very accurate. And that's about a quarter of the pop. I mean, that was a card that was short printed to under 100. What was there, like 90, 88 of those perhaps?
I think it was like a weird number, like 87 or something like that,
Yeah.
86. But yeah, it wasn't a crazy amount.
So that you're never going to see all PSA 10s on that, and that is a good spot to grab. All right, for my second pick, I've actually wanted to talk about Carlos Sainz for a little bit of a time now, but he was always just like third or fourth on my list, and
Didn't
it
quite
just
make the cut.
didn't quite make the cut, and especially like last week or the time before, I really wanted to talk about Leclerc, and he almost could have been my pick this week, but
Had a
you
good
know,
race.
he had a really good race, took George for the Ferrari's first podium. Now, granted, Lewis did have the sprint win, so but official podium for Ferrari, so good job. But his new team did pretty good in this race. Williams is off to like their best start since 2016 in
Yeah.
terms of points. They've either had as many or matched that total, and we're only 5 races in. Carlos Sainz, hugely underrated driver, as we've talked about before. I think he's finally Scott settling into the team and did outqualify and outfinish his teammate Alex Albon. Now they had some little like friendship team dynamics going on at the end in this race that were able to lock in 8 and 9.
Yep.
But Sainz qualified 6th. I mean, this is not the best car on the grid. I'm sure he misses his his Ferrari most days, but I think he's made the best of the situation. And again, when you look at the drivers in the midfield, you want race winners, and you want people that can punch above their weight, and I think Signs is that person. I don't think his market has been anywhere near it has been after like the news broke. And even last year, like you just didn't, even though when people knew that he was going to be leaving, they didn't know what team he was going to. His just market has just really gone down. So I hope this does lead to a little bit of a bounce back. It'll be really, really interesting to see the head-to-head battle with Albon through the rest of the season, because now that he's kind of got his footing a little bit, I mean, one race doesn't make a season. But if he really starts to feel a lot more comfortable, if they're able to make some improvements to the car, I mean, don't get me wrong, this team's target is 2026.
Yep.
And you've talked about it on your streams. Like, this is going to be an engine formula. So their engine is Mercedes, and Mercedes did really good in 2014.
Yes, they
So
did.
if they have everything else lined up, I mean, this could be a surprise team. However, the McLaren also has the Mercedes engine, so we'll see. Who did
Yeah.
McLaren have for their engine when they made the regulation change in 2014? Were they with Honda?
So yeah, they did have Honda for a while. I believe they actually then used Renault for a bit. So they've kind of hopped around. But they had Honda initially. That was you know, Alonso's famous GP2 engine. GP2
Uh,
engine.
always car 14.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm already
So
starting to think,
that's great.
like, just not that this is financial advice at all, but like now, just like thinking about it, it's like, how can you take that information and find like the next Mercedes before Mercedes became Mercedes? And I don't know. Anyways, putting all this stuff together, Carlos Sainz, likable guy, the meme master. Rinse and repeat, Scott. If there's 2020 cards available, that's what the flow chart says.
That's right.
PSA
Hard to look
10,
past.
Sapphire Portrait card number 8, Pop 246. Not nearly as submitted as most of them. What Leclerc was in like near 600.
600. Yeah. Yeah. Around there.
Relatively low by 2020 Sapphire standards, and again, pretty rarely available. Probably in like the $60 range is what you're probably looking at for this. A good addition to your
Yeah,
personal
I would say
collection.
that sounds about right.
But a Grail. Can't really go wrong with a Ferrari patch.
Yeah.
There is not many Ferrari patch, whether it's the race suit, their gloves, that are ever surface in any year of Dynasty. There's only a handful. And there just so happens to be one available with P1Castle Premium Consignment right now. It's shocking.
Whoa. What?
It's almost like I've been taking notes like the last couple episodes, and like now we're like synchronized at this point. But man,
Yeah.
I think
Nice.
Ferrari is always going to be the team that probably Sainz is most remembered for. I mean, it's pretty easy to say that because that's probably where his race wins are going to come. I mean, if Williams turns into a race winning car in the new regulations, I will eat my words. But return to podiums and stuff could be there. If you're a Carlos Sainz fan, I'm sure that his Ferrari days are what you're probably going to remember the most. So that
Oh
is
yeah.
where I would go if I was looking to add a Grail type of card.
Yeah, I mean, any driver that drives for Ferrari, it's always going to be, an exciting time, whether it went well or not. But Signs, yeah, got some wins, got the lone win that wasn't a Red Bull win in 2023 in Singapore. So I mean, he's did pretty well there. He went toe to toe with Leclerc. Obviously Hamilton new to the team betting in, but Signs was doing better than Hamilton's been doing so far. Obviously, it's taking Signs some time to adjust to a new team, just like it's taking Hamilton. But yeah, Signs finished one place behind Hamilton in a Williams versus a Ferrari. So yeah, I think Signs once he starts to come to grips with the car, he's gonna be good. I mean, listen, his qualifying was scintillating in that Williams, and like you said, if it's going to be an engine formula like we all think it is in 2026, the last time that there was a big engine regulation change, like I said, Mercedes knocked it out of the park, and Williams was the second best car because they had a Mercedes engine in the back of their car. So obviously, McLaren uses Mercedes engines now, so we'll have to see how those three teams stack up. But I mean, if those are the top three teams and the aero isn't as dependent, a lot of it's based on the engine. I mean, who knows? They could be up there. They could be winning races, and we could see signs start to take off a bit.
Indeed. All right. So, Scott, we wanted to change things up a little bit. We've been so focused on the main formula that there are other formulas going on.
That's right. And I think, like we've said before, there's going to be times that we duplicate, but we're going to try to avoid that. And came up with the idea of, why don't we step outside, you know, Formula One into Formula Two and Formula Three, take a look at some of the other drivers. Now, again, we're probably not going to go down to current F3 because a lot of them don't have cards. But if you look at F2 right now, there's a lot of cards that are available from those drivers. And I wanted to touch on Arvid Lindblad
Ooh.
because Arvid Lindblad set yet another record last year. He was the youngest ever Formula 3 winner. And this year, he sets the record for the youngest ever Formula 2 winner. He won the sprint race in Jeddah, started, I think, fifth or sixth on the grid, ended up coming through for the win. Now, I will say, in terms of cards, he's only got 1 year and he only has two cards in Chrome Sapphire. Right now, again, he's got some cards in Finest now, which I think is actually going to be a great place to find some cards of Lindblad. But in the Chrome and Sapphire areas, you really only have to choose from his portrait or his car. Now, obviously, you know where you're going to want to put your money, and that's going to be in the portrait. I think if you look at a card, and I was looking for like, oh yeah, let's look for a refractor PSA 10. I couldn't even find any. Couldn't find any on sold. I couldn't find any that are listed right now. I am willing to bet if someone has some of these out there, you got a refractor portrait and you can gem it. I think these things will do very well. And I think there's a lot of people similar like me out there looking for them right now. And they're nowhere to be seen. So I would take those cards, dig through. If you've got Lindblad refractors, think about sending them in because, he's getting used to the Formula 2 car now. Just got his first win. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts coming on really strong in the Campos alongside Pepe Marti and starts getting some more wins. And if he gets some more wins, starts, getting closer to the top of that championship, or, God forbid he takes the lead of the championship, everybody's going to be clamoring for Lindblad cards. And having some refractors, especially PSA 10s on hand, would be very wise. So that's where you can also look at the Sapphire. But again, right now we're looking at the base portrait refractor. In terms of Grail, again, not a ton of cards out there. But since you're limited to really just the portraits, all you can do is look at, like, obviously there's the super refractors, the rose gold, the pad Paraja. But those are going to be, I don't even know if we've seen any of them hit. Maybe the Lindblad Rose Gold. I know I haven't seen the pad. I haven't seen the super. So those are potentially still out there somewhere. But you can go to the next best thing, and that's red out of 5. And I was able to find a PSA sale of a red logo fractor portrait of Arvid Lindblad, which looks amazing. Of course, rocking his Red Bull shirt. So, Lindblad in a red, whether it be logo fractor, whether it be, red ray wave, true red sapphire, any of those is going to be a good buy right now, I think, especially if his market really takes a turn when he starts to win more races. But a lot of people have been asking about Lindblad lately. I've got a few questions. Oh, do we have any Lindblad in my singles sales? And we did have one Lindblad. We had a gold Lindblad. We sold a couple gold sapphire Lindblads, close to $100 on a gold sapphire. So if you're looking at a gold sapphire at $100, what does that put a red? Like 1,000? If you do the math on that, I mean, I don't know. I think they're very popular cards. I think Lindblad right now is the most popular F3 card you can buy. We may have some other drivers make an appearance in future weeks here, but right now, I think Lindblad is a really nice get, and I love him. I think he's very young, which even if he doesn't win this championship, I cannot understate how much emphasis Formula One teams put on the age of the drivers. Like, he could come in 4th or 5th in this championship, and Richard Verschoor could win this championship by 100 points. He's not getting picked up by an F1 team. Sorry, Dickie V, Richard V. I love you, buddy, but he's older than Oscar Piastri. At this point, he's been in F2 for 5 years. Richard Verschoor, even if he wins this championship, is likely not going to go to Formula One. But Arvid Lindblad, if he puts in a decent performance, he starts ramping up towards the end of the year. He comes in 4th. He might go to VCARB next year. So you got to try to look ahead. And of course, next year in 2025 products, you're going to have Formula 2 cards of him. You're going to get autos. But those aren't available right now. And F3 is, and his portrait is going to be the best place to go. So, yeah, that's my spiel on Lindblad.
Yeah, I mean, winning sells, hype sells. Absolutely agree. I don't personally know a whole lot about him. I haven't followed him, but I know that there's a lot of people that I trust in the hobby that have been really actively pursuing him, all along. So,
yeah, two people, namely, at least I know, that seem to collect the same person over and over.
G Myers being one.
G Myers and Casey, they both got big Hadge collections, and now they're both going for Lindblad.
Just betting big on future potential Red Bull drivers. You can't really go wrong that.
It's true.
Scott, one question before we go over to the consignment stuff that's available. One thing that I've tried to get better at over the course of my F1 collecting is I just am horrible at coming up with values. And I know that that's one of your strong points is you're able to just do those calculations really quickly in your head. For our viewers, for our listeners, I've started to get better, but I got to ask you, is there like a simpler way for people to kind of do that? Now, I know I know how you kind of probably approached it, but like you take the rarity and you're able to do kind of a calculation or a forecast essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for that, right, like we were looking at the example of the gold, right? Gold sapphire, it's out of 50, $100. So you take a red sapphire out of 5, so it's 10 times as rare. So on the whole, just a very easy calculation. Okay, it should be worth 10 times as much. Now, there's a couple things that go into that. If the card isn't in extremely high demand, you're going to have less people interested in buying it. So you're likely going to have to be like, okay, you take the 10x and then you probably back off of that some amount. And maybe you end up at, 750, 800. Sometimes it can actually work the other way where you get down to, okay, a gold versus a red, it's 10 times as rare. But if it's extremely desirable and there's a lot of people trying to get it, like say Lindblad wins 3 races in a row, a lot of people are going to be trying to get Lindblad, and a lot of people are going to want that low numbered stuff. So then it actually goes the other way where, okay, now the value starts creeping above 1,000 because not only is it 10 times as rare, but there's a lot of people in the market for it. Like whenever you're dealing with high end cards, and we generally exclusively deal with high end cards, there's always an equation that you're looking at, and it comes down to basic economics 101, right? Supply and demand. So you can have the best card in the world, a card that you think is amazing, it's a super fractor, it's a one of one, etc. If there are no buyers for it, there's no market for it, right? I mean, I've had people come to me with certain cards and they're like, oh, I think it should be worth this much, and I'm like, well, unfortunately, whether it's that product or that driver or whatever, there's not a huge high end market for that driver. So their high end cards fall off a lot. You can't look at, a driver like Valtteri Bottas and say, oh, well, his gold sold for X amount. So his superfractor should be 50 times as much, because it doesn't work like that. Because a lot of folks that collect Valtteri Bottas and are into Bottas, they're in that gold range. They're picking up golds, they're picking up orange. They're not trying to break the bank. Generally people that are collecting, kind of those mid to lower tier drivers, they're not looking to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. So then you get a card like that, a very high end 101, and it's not going to sell for that 10x or 100x, etc. premium. It usually falls below that by some degree. Whereas if you get a driver like Oscar Piastri, it might go the other way, where you're going to get, a lot of people interested in his high value cards, and then it goes beyond those comps. But there's a lot that goes into it. But basically, you can kind of look at the rarity, compare the rarity between the two cards, and do a little bit of a calculation there. And then again, it's always going to come down to, what does the market look like? What's the supply? If you've got a red, if it's a gem, what's the pop on a PSA 10? If you have a red, I'll tell you right now, if you have a red PSA 10 and it's a pop 5, it's not actually going to bring that much of a premium as you'd expect, because all of them graded a PSA 10, right? So it's not that much more valuable than a raw would have been. But yeah, so it's interesting to take a look at, but that's kind of generally, one of the rules is just looking at the rarity and then adjusting for the driver's market at a higher end.
Good stuff. I'm always learning. I
We're
appreciate
always
it.
we're all always learning
Yeah, and I'm sure our viewers and
every
listeners
day.
appreciate that too. All right, speaking of some of those cards that are big for sale, let's take a look at what's available at P1Castle Premium Consignment right now as we wrap this show up.
Yeah, so we had some cards come in over the last couple weeks. A lot of them came in last week, but couple weeks, Oscar Piastri. And you know, really what mainly kicked this off is, Oscar Piastri wins in China. A lot of people reach out to me, "Ooh, I think it's a good time to sell." And I advise a lot of them, "Oh, I'm not sure right now. Lando's still got a firm lead in the championship. We got to wait and see how the market evolves, but might right now might be a good time to send those cards so that we can get them prepped, ready to capitalize on a market shift, right?" And then, he gets his second win in Bahrain and the momentum starts going his way, all of a sudden, everybody wants Oscar cards. Everybody's messaging me, "Do you have Oscar cards? Do you have Oscar cards?" And yes, we do. And we have quite a few, and we've been posting them. And as of the time of this, I think some of these have already sold. But we had some very beautiful Oscar Piastri cards come in. We have a gold PSA 10 Auto 10 Oscar Piastri, $3,000 or best offer on this one. Again, rookie card from 2023. Beautiful. PSA 1010 Immaculate. So love to see that. We also have some bigger cards. And the next one from 2024, Topps Finest Superfractor autograph, 1 of 1. This one for 15,000 or best offer. So quite a jump from a gold PSA 10 to a raw Superfractor. It's not his rookie card, but it is first year of Formula One Topps Finest. Beautiful card. And yeah, market for Oscar is exploding. So that one's at 15,000, but actually isn't the biggest card that we've had posted, because the next one, 2023 Superfractor, and you talked about it earlier, card number 41. Absolutely beautiful helmet. 1 of 1. I mean, the gold discs on this just look absolutely beautiful. This card is listed for 20,000 or best offer. And you know what's interesting? Because I want to talk to you about this, because I've had varied opinions. I know where I lie. I think I know where you lie. Obviously, Oscar's rookie card portrait, the card number 40, is his without a doubt number 1, right? You're going to be hard pressed to find someone that thinks otherwise. Where do you stand on card? I think it's what is it?
195.
195, his freshest.
195. Yep.
195, his freshest rookie card, because generally in the history of Formula One cards throughout 2020, 21, 22, 23, it's been the freshest is always the second best, because it's a very similar, it's like it's portrait-esque, and it just got the big freshest tag on there. It's a rookie card also. That's usually the second highest. Where do you fall between that card and this card?
Oh, 41 over 195 all day. And
Okay.
I think if there was a helmet involved with his freshest, I think it would be a little bit of a different story. I I don't particularly like the photo they used for the freshest. I mean, it
Okay.
does convey he's doing like the fist pump, but I don't know. It's just it's kind of ho hum. I mean, like I said, Scott, I'm a simple man. The flow chart, the helmet flow chart. We're gonna come up with a graphic. We got to talk
Yeah,
to
we
Ben about
should.
that.
We should.
The helmet coefficient or whatever we want to call this. But yeah, if there's a helmet involved, I mean, that's where people are going to go. To me, I agree with the market. People value 41 over the 195.
Well, it's been
I
pretty close. It actually had, because I looked at it a little bit, and they're fairly similar.
That
They
surprises me. That
Yeah,
surprises me.
they're fairly similar. If you look at sales, and it's everything from golds all the way up to purples, there you can go look at comps, and they're really, really close. And that's actually why I wanted to ask you, because I agree. I love the 41. I think it's a much better card than the freshest aesthetically. I mean, to me, it's an action shot, and obviously, pure action shots, these guys, it's them in the car, but that's not as exciting. So this, to me, this is like as close as you're going to get to an action shot of a driver. They just look aggressive. They've got the helmet with the neck brace. It's just a beautiful card. And I would take it over the freshest all day long. Absolutely. But I know there's some others. There's some big collectors who actually disagree with that. For instance, Jeff, who obviously is a huge player in the market. He prefers the freshest. Now,
Hmm.
ironically, and I put this to him too, he doesn't own the freshest super or the freshest pad, but he does prefer the freshest to this card, because he sees this card as like an insert, right? But I would argue that, I mean, technically, if you look at the checklist, right, this is still considered
Part of the
just
base set.
driver card, right? It's not, it's not like a driver of the day. It's not a Grand Prix winner, yellow tag type thing. It's just another image. It actually, we've seen other cards like this, but this is very reminiscent of one of, I think, the best photos we've ever had in Formula One. And that's the 2021 Lewis Hamilton image variation.
Mhm.
And I think, shout out, friend of the show, Rated Rips, and especially Michaela, because she pulled that card, Pad Paraja, one of one. Absolutely insane card. But I mean, that was one of the, obviously you got Russell and K Mag. Don't forget him. Um, in the 2020 set with the helmet cards. I know some people, Chris Medvey likes to call the Latifi a helmet card, but I think that's you're too far back. You've got the full driver, and it
Mhm.
becomes not, to me, it's not as good of a card, right? I think when you've got like the waist up, that kind of closeness and the helmet there, for me, I think the Russell and the K Mag from 2020, you've got Vettel and Hamilton image variations in 2021 are beautiful shots of their helmets. Even Carlos Sainz has a
Card
card that's
54.
not yeah, exactly, not an image variation, but has that helmet. They're just beautiful looking cards. And yeah, for me, that's why I would put it above the freshest. But you know what? I want to hear this, guys. If you watch this podcast, I want to, below in the comments, let us know. What do you prefer? Oscar Piastri card 41, the helmet card, or card 195, his freshest? Both are rookies. Both are great cards, but what do you prefer? Let us know in the comments.
Final thought on this before we end the show here.
Sure.
The fact that this is technically, to me, his second driver card. His third driver card in the set, which is card 42, is kind of his car in the pit lane,
Yeah.
kind of a side view. And then every driver's fourth card is essentially them in their car. So every driver got like basically 4 cards. Oscar got 5 because of the freshest. But yeah, I
Yep.
don't want to say case closed because apparently it's probably a coin flip for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Anyways, story time. End this show with one little quick story. Scott, I talked about the opening. I don't even know what to say about like how lucky I am at this point.
When you got it, you got it.
When you're hot, you're hot, and sometimes you just gotta roll. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin. So we talked about in the last episode with Keith and Evan with CBC Breaks was able to get the Oscar Piastri Topps Finest card number 108, the uncommon superfractor. Already have it in hand. It's actually off to PSA already as of today. Quickness. Scott, we threw it out into the universe. We talked about Steve with Snap and Packs, now of One of One Card Shop, and just like the universe like collided with Oscar Piastri Superfractor and Steve with Snap and Packs, who's also a resident of the great state of New Hampshire. He ran a Topps Finest break this past Saturday night, and as I have done with a lot of different people, follow the Oscar Piastri flowchart. If Oscar Piastri is available, and I happen to see it's available, I'm going to go grab it. Whew, card number 8, the common superfractor, came out of box number 8. Oscar Piastri, the spot wasn't looking terribly great at that point, and maybe on like pack 4 or something, on last box, he opens the pack, sees the golden discs, and I'm just like, oh man, there's a lot of superfractors coming out of this product. I mean, it is
I
product
don't
of the
know what you're
year.
talking about.
Yeah,
I don't even know what you're talking about.
you're in a rut, my friend. But
It's true.
see the golden discs, and I'm just like, wow, someone's gonna hit a really good card here. And then he opens up, it's Oscar Piastri. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, what are the odds within 4 days to hit 2 out of the 3 superfractors in this product from his essentially his base portraits. The
It's
the
amazing.
the rare has already been pulled, I believe, in China, which is kind of like the rips that occurred like a week before the official release.
So does he only have
3.
one? He only has like one card in each 1 through 100?
That's all the base set is. It's each driver has a
Wow.
card. There's all the F2 drivers, all the F3 drivers, and then you got the legends. Like, so,
Well,
I mean,
because Lewis and Max have way more.
I don't think so. I think everybody's got one because you've
No,
got a
Lewis and Max have like 4 cards. Because if you look like cards 90 through like 100, like Max has multiple. Hold on, I'll
check
real time it.
check the checklist. I don't know because I haven't seen any other Piastri show up out of either 108 or 208. So as we've talked about with the common, uncommon, rare. But wow, yeah. So I got to pick this up in person this week. I'm gonna drive out to the Seacoast and
So
see
for
Steve.
Piastri, you are correct. He has 8, 108, 208. So we got Brian, you got to find 208. We got to find this for you. You said it got pulled in China. We got to find it. Is it on Card Hobby?
I don't know. I don't even know what that is.
Card Hobby is like the Chinese eBay. Is Card Hobby. We got to look.
We got to look. It would be cool to have
Carbon Cardboard Ites.
Help find the
Carbon
208
Cardboard
rare.
Community Triple C. We got to find the Piastri 208 because imagine if you had all 3. I mean, Brian.
But Pack pulled in a break. Insane. 2 out of the 3 is incredible. Like, wow. So yeah, I don't know. I could not talk about this on the podcast. A little bit of a closer shot, but so the common Oscar just standing there, arms folded. The 108 uncommon, he has the helmet at the side, and then the rare, he's holding the helmet in front of him. But I love Finest Scott. I've talked about it. I love like the artwork in the back. I know it's not for everybody, but to me, it just works. It uses
it's like a
all
color
the
blast in every card.
It is like a color blast in every card. Perfect example. But man, congratulations to Steve with Snap and Packs. I know he doesn't break exclusively F1. I know he's trying to get that community going, but I'd love to help out a fellow New Hampshire card collector, and he's just a great guy too. So congrats, Steve.
Yeah. Shout out to Snap and Packs. Love to see it. And obviously big congrats to you, Brian, hitting 2 out of the 3 base set Piastri Superfactors. That's amazing. And
both going to be up on P1Castle grading on our IG account. So as soon as they come back from PSA.
Beautiful. Hopefully we can get some nice ones. It does look like so Max and Lewis, they each have 3. So they have 9 total out of the 300. It's because they get them later. Like I don't know what they call those cards. It might only be for champions. You know what? That's exactly what it is. It's champions because Alonso also has extra cards. Which is why in the case we ran the other day, all we were pulling was Alonso, it seemed like. But yeah, so now that I think about it, that's exactly what it is. It's so if you've won a championship, I know at least that's that last set. So that's where Max and Lewis and Alonso gets them there. And then I'm not sure if that's what it is again for their third card in the set. But yeah, lots of Lewis and Max and not that much Oscar. So for you to hit 2 of them, and especially given you said that the rare had gotten hit in China.
That was like on release. I'm pretty sure that was.
So there were only 2 left. You got them both.
And you've got the Superfractor Auto at P1Castle Premium Consignment right now.
Very true.
So, I mean, there's all the inserts and stuff that there's Superfractors of as well. But
we just hit you a decent Oscar, not a Superfractor. But, I mean, you're in the P1 no Superfractors allowed castle lately. So, a red headliners is about as good as you can get here.
That is like a Superfractor at this point.
It's true. I mean, I will say it's going to come good eventually. And the people that are loyal to me, in the same way that Godric Gryffindor rewards those that are loyal to him, all the supers will start coming out and you'll get your own fox and ruby encrusted sword.
So it's this was supposed to be a short podcast and it's turning into a long one, but oh well. It was funny. I had
Tuesday's always long.
yeah, I was meeting with Paul F1 Cards. He was here at headquarters a few weeks ago, and I was giving him some of the slabs that had come in, and he gave some cards for us to send through our service here. And he was joking with me. He goes, I keep buying Kimi Antonelli spots with Scott, and he keeps not hitting.
Not
So
hitting.
it's like D2 talks about all the time. He's like, just all these people that love the pain to continue to break with golden poles. Like that's
I know.
what you do.
It's tough too because I do all these team driver breaks, etc. And you get someone like Paul and like others who are so loyal and consistent on a spot. And then I do one, the random stuff that I do on Fanatics, and we hit a red out of 5 Kimi finest auto. But don't worry, it'll come good. It'll come good. Although he didn't actually grab Antonelli on my latest Sapphire and Chrome. So we're probably going to pull a pad, and Paul will hate me. But actually, one of the cards that you graded, and that we can end on this because I know we gotta hop too. But one of the cards you graded for Paul actually just arrived here today, coming up on Premium Consignment pretty soon. I think you know the one that I'm talking about.
Oh, is it red?
Oh, it is. And
man,
it's a nice gem. Very gem.
Are we gonna show it on screen here?
I don't have it.
Oh,
I mean,
no,
I can
no,
get it.
no.
I'll show it on the next episode.
Oh, the next episode.
Yeah, on the next episode of Carbon Cardboard Podcast, find out what card we're talking about.
Indeed. So as AJ asked for the last time out, and I told him no more questions in the YouTube comments, but I think it's time to hit that catchphrase.
All right, guys. Well, we'll be back in a couple minutes, but we'll see you in a few days. And in the meantime, collect your cardboard, keep it carbon.